Okay, so this is an intro to React. By now you've all had a little play around with React and started working with it a little bit. Maybe we're getting just a rough idea of what it can do and why we use it. So why are we using it? Anyone got any ideas? Is it just because we've been told to in the bootcamp, or why are we using React? Okay, so you're saying it's a front-end library, yeah, designed for building views, yeah, the user interfaces. So why not just write it the old-fashioned way? Why use React?
We don't invent the wheel.
Say again, sorry?
We don't invent the wheel. I mean, it's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It speeds up development.
Speeds up the development process. Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely.
You can create yourself, like if you want to like all route and stuff, like vanilla JS, use Express. Yeah. You can do it yourself, but if you don't, because you have components and you can reuse small bits. It's a whole library.
Definitely. So all of these libraries and frameworks out there, they're just really designed, they're released to make our jobs easier. Someone's done the hard work, they've abstracted away some of the difficult parts of web development and other development, and made our lives easier, made these tools available. So Facebook released React to the general public, and it's become a very, very popular tool for building user interfaces and the view part of most apps. So it's also very popular in industry now. Lots of startups are using React, and they're looking for JavaScript developers with React skills, and just year on year, React is being adopted more and more across the industry, and there are more and more React jobs out there. So that's why we're training you guys in React rather than just vanilla JavaScript or a different library or a different framework, to stand you in good stead, get you used to using these tools, and just give you a better chance in the future of breaking into the industry and getting the job that you want. So just a general sort of documentation area for React is the official documentation. I don't know whether anyone's looked at it yet or whether we've just sort of dived into using React, but that is reactjs.org. So always worth just having a look there if you want to know a few other things about React and look at the official documentation and how they suggest implementing it in your projects. So how have we implemented React within our project? What do we do in the command line? We ran a certain command. Not quite. I think we've mashed two terms together there. First we did npm install. We did -g and then create React app. Yeah. So we installed that create React app helper utility globally on our machines, and then we ran that to create an actual CodeFlix app in our case. Yeah. And that created our folders and our project structure for us. So I mean, if you look at Get Started on the official documentation, there are various ways that you can incorporate React. You don't have to use Create React App. I'll tell you why we're using it a little bit in a minute. You can just include a simple script tag, and that will enable you to use React just in part of your application, just as you would use a script tag in an HTML file to include a CSS style sheet. That's how you used to do it in the olden days. So you can do that with React just for a certain part of your application, but we're building a whole React project, and as part of that we want to use things like JSX. We want to use modern JavaScript in our projects. So using the create React app sort of helper utility, that really enables us to take advantage of all these other little technologies that are built into create React app as well. So it's quite a powerful little utility there that we've got. So that's partly why we've chosen to use create React app. So let's just have a look at when we run create React app, what do we get? So I've run the function previously, so we don't have to wait for my computer to install everything. And let's just look at the file structure that creates for us. So ignore these two bottom ones for now, just looking at the create React app itself. So when we run install, it will obviously give us some node modules. We've got a public folder and we've got a source folder, and we've mainly been working in the source folder, haven't we, so far, the ones that we want to edit. I just want to take a quick look at the package.json file that gets created when we run create React app. And we notice here that we've got a couple of scripts, well, 4 scripts to be exact. We've got start, build, test, and eject. Yeah, and I think we've at least used one of them in our project so far. What one have we used, guys? Start. Yeah, we've been using start, so we've been doing npm start, haven't we, or npm run start, either or, to start our server. Yeah, so that's another thing that comes bundled with Create React App, an inbuilt server, so that we can just run that script and display our React apps in our web browser. Yeah, so we can literally make sure we're in the correct folder first. So how do I get back to a previous folder, guys? Just testing your command line things. I need to go 1 level up. cd ... Yeah, that'll take me 1 level up. And then I want to cd into my, what have I got? I got my blank Create React App. Okay, so I'm in the correct folder. So when we do run npm start, that's coming here, looking at our script and running that script to enable us to boot up our application in our web browser. Yeah, so that's one of the advantages of using Create React App. This all comes bundled for us. Oops, don't really need that anymore. So as you can see, it's pretty powerful. It comes with a few other things as well. We can run our build to prepare our deployment build there. It comes with inbuilt testing as well. We'll talk about testing later on in the course. And if at any stage you no longer want to use the Create React App, you can actually eject out of it and use other things to finish off your project. But don't worry about that one. We won't really need that one. But just know it's there. No, that's not stopping the server. That's, yeah, it's doing something else entirely. But yeah, we don't really need to go into it. No, but you're quite right. If I did want to stop this server, the shortcut to stop it is Control C. If I wanted to leave that running, I could of course just open another terminal there using the plus button. Okay. So we get told when we first boot up our Create React App that to edit it, we can just edit in there. Most of you have done all these things already. We also get this bit of code here in our return statement. Yeah, so what sort of code is that? What language is that written in? So I heard HTML, I heard JSX. So the whole file itself is a JavaScript file, right? It's got the extension .js. That's a JavaScript file. Yeah, remember React is a JavaScript library. But, so is this HTML? Do we have class name in HTML? No, just class, yeah, or class. So why can't we use, well, hold on, so this in fact is not HTML code, this is JSX code, yeah? And one of the benefits again of writing using Create React App is that we can use JSX out the box, and that makes, once you get used to it, that makes development a lot easier. That's, you know, creating these elements for us, creating the div elements, so we don't have to have separate files, we don't have to have our separate HTML and our separate JavaScript file. We can write it all from within our JavaScript itself. And it's clever enough to know that we're writing JSX when we include it within these tags. And if we want to then use JavaScript within our JSX, we could just use these curly braces here. Yeah? And that tells us, okay, we're now using some JavaScript code again. So this here is JSX, but we've used a bit of JavaScript code within the curly braces. Yeah. So it's definitely JSX and not HTML. And why can't we then use class in JSX?
Because we already have class.
Because we've already got it, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's how we create a new class object in JavaScript. Yeah, we use that keyword. It's a keyword or reserved word in JavaScript, so we can't use class name in our JSX because JSX just gets transpiled to JavaScript. Yeah. All that's going on behind the scenes, so we don't need to worry about it too much, but we just want to give a sort of a high-level overview just so you understand what's going on a little bit behind the scenes. Yeah, so you've all been using React in your projects a bit so far. How have you found it? Is it easy to use, quite a steep learning curve, or easy to use? Yeah? I mean, we've only scratched the surface so far, so there's quite a lot we can do with it. Just a quick little thing to note, I mean, it does come with a lot of extra things when we use Create React App. So there is another command that some people have started using just for developing something locally. So Create React App is great when we want to build a project and we want to make that production ready. It comes with a lot of tools that enable us to push and deploy our app. So we can, later on in the course, we'll be pushing to Heroku. So part of that is all built into Create React App. But if you're just maybe playing around with React on your own machines, there's another command that some people have started using, and that's just called Nano React App. Yeah, so that's just a smaller version. It doesn't come with as many things built in. And again, you just invoke it like you would with Create React App, and you give your folder name afterwards. So if you want to do sort of demo React app or something like that, yeah, that would create a folder called demo React app, but use this utility rather than Create React App. And say again?
It's a light version.
It's like a light version, yeah, a smaller version of it. So Create React App gives you all of that, whereas the Nano one just gives you this. So we've just got our app file and our index.js file. If you look in the package.json, we've got probably less dependencies, but we've only got a couple of scripts as well. So yeah, it's just a lighter version. If you're just developing locally on your machine, just playing around with it, you might want to use that instead rather than have the whole bloated version. It's totally up to you. But obviously in this course we're using Create React App, so just stick with that for now. All right. Does anyone know how Create React App is actually? Well, let's run this again, and let's just inspect what we've got going on here. So when we ran our server, our app is getting rendered. Yeah, so if we inspect the DOM, we can see that our code here that was in app.js, that was in app.js, so all this code here is getting rendered into the browser. Are we aware of how React is doing that? Through index.js, this one? Uh-huh.
And then you've got the React render.
So that line there is pretty interesting. Yeah? So when we're working with React, we usually install React and React DOM. Yeah, so React DOM can obviously help render to the DOM for us in the browser. So what it's doing is it's taking our app component, which is defined here in app.js, and it is looking in the DOM for this element that has an ID of root, and it's inserting all of our app code into that root element. So if we go to index.html, we should see a div with an ID of root. Yeah? So it's finding that div for us and inserting our whole app into that div. And the end result of that, you don't need to know how, but the end result of that, the trick, the magic of React is it's getting that all inserted here. Go ahead, yeah.
So basically, it's the idea that you don't use the normal DOM, but you recreate a new one from scratch.
Exactly, we're using React's own virtual DOM. Yeah, so that's managing the DOM for us. So it creates a more lightweight copy of the DOM, and it monitors the changes in that, which is a bit more efficient than monitoring the whole browser DOM, and then just updates when necessary or when you tell it. We'll talk about state and lifecycle methods later on in the course, and these are partly how that React updates the DOM.
Explain what a browser DOM is.
What a browser DOM is. So it's the tree-like representation of the document, the HTML document. So you got the window will be your root environment, and then within that you've got a representation of all the elements on the web page, and the DOM is that. So you've got the root element being your HTML element here, and then we've got children of that HTML element being the head and the body. So they're all elements within the DOM, within the document object model. So it's an object-based representation of your web page. Yeah, and that plays nicely with JavaScript, because JavaScript as well is very, works with objects. It creates array objects. It creates, we'll talk about inheritance and things later on in the course again, but yeah, it inherits things through objects as well, so it can play nicely with the DOM. All right, any other questions sort of on that general overview? So let's have a look at roughly where some of you guys are so far. So again, I'm just going to move up a folder, and oh no, I didn't need to move up a folder, and just get down into a partial demo of where we're at really with CodeFlix, or where some of you are at with CodeFlix. So I'm in, what have I got? Okay, so I just need to go into my React intro. Oh. And then we've got a partial CodeFlix. Okay. So I'm now in this folder here. And if I look at the app.js here, we can see that we've got some rows and we've got some movies in there. So let's just run this and see what it looks like in the browser. It should be fairly similar to where some of you are in your projects currently. Yep, so I'm already running one. That's fine, I'll just use another port for now. Okay, so at the moment, obviously this is all the same movie. You've got 6 different movies. This was a favourite of someone last night in the evening class. Wonder likes Kalito's Way. Don't know if you've seen it, I haven't seen it. He told me I'm missing out. Yeah, so we've got 2 rows there of images. Okay, so something similar to where you're at already with your projects. So, the next thing I want to talk about in React is components. Yes, we'll just take a basic look at components. React's a component-based library, which means that we can make our code very scalable and reusable. So we can encapsulate our logic, or encapsulate maybe just a single component, presentational component, and reuse that again and again in our app. Long term, that should make our project a lot more manageable. So I want to look at the 2 ways that we can create components in React. The first way, which we're going to come back to, is a class-based component. But as you can see here, that's actually what we're doing for our root app component in React. But I just want to create a simple functional based component to begin with. So I'm going to create a new file. In fact, I'm going to delete that one first. So I'll just create a new file here, just in the same directory as app.js for now. Don't need to worry about rearranging too much. So what I want to do is create a new row component. but I want to create it as a function. Yeah? So we've already written quite a lot of functions in JavaScript so far. So can someone start me off? How would I just write a function? Let's call it row. So I can have my function keyword, yeah? Yeah. And we return something, yeah? So for now, I'm not going to worry too much about what we return. Let's just return a long number. Do I need, well, I don't need any arguments yet. So the question now is, once we write a bit of separate logic, a function in this case, how would we get it into app.js? How would we make this file accessible to app.js? Export, yeah. So I'm going to use the keyword there, default, as well for now. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Yeah. So I'm exporting something using ES6 module syntax, yeah. And if we're exporting something, what else do we need to do? Import, yeah. So we're going to import it into app.js. So we've already got some here to base it off of. Yeah, so we can still just call it row from the path. And where is it? It's here, right? So it's in the current directory. So that's // I'm actually going to capitalize it because you should capitalize all your components. That was my mistake, so I'll make this capital as well. So when we're dealing with components, make sure you name them using capital letters. Say again?
We don't need to use the extension.
Hold on, we've got two different questions there. So Davide first.
If you go to row AS file, do we have to write also on top import React also in the document? Or no? It's not necessary. On top, import React and then export the form. Import React from React and then export or no? I'm not sure. I'm asking.
Okay, let's see whether it works as it is, and then that's a really good suggestion to use for later on, yeah? So, we've got a failed to compile here. Does not match corresponding name on disk. I've renamed it now. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Alright, so I've exported it from my row component or my row file, and I've imported it into app.js, but I haven't displayed it anywhere yet. How would I do that? Let's import it as the second row. So my first row ends here, so let's put it here. How do I say put this component here? Anyone know the syntax? Yeah, so we can actually just write components as a row like that. Yeah, and notice it's gone green. So React has actually recognized that as a component. And there's a slightly shorter way to write that as well. We could make it a self-closing tag, and that would also work. Yeah. Let's have a look into the browser and see what's happened. Hopefully it will be displayed. Yep. So there it is in our second row. We've just got these numbers 33333 here. Yeah. So it's working. We've created a component. We've created a function. And then we've imported that into our main app.js and rendered it. Yeah. So there's no need for just a basic function like that. Yet for certain components, mainly class-based ones and ones that use state and other methods, then we will need to use that import React statement, so we've got these other functions and methods available to us. But just for a basic component like that, it's not needed. So that's cool. We've got the general gist. We've got something working. But what would be really nice is if we could actually encapsulate all of this logic and this presentation to display our images within that row component. Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. Don't display that. So let's go back to our row.js and let's amend it a little bit. Yeah. Go on.
It's mandatory that we have to write in capital letters.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do it a lowercase. So if we did, so let's go back to how I originally had it, which was my mistake. Okay. App.js row, blah, blah, blah. So that's down here. Okay, so we've got module not found. Oh, what's happened there? Where's the capital R? I can't see it. I don't think that's what it's saying. It's weird. It's lowercase. Anyway, short story is make sure your components are capitalized. Yeah, I was just trying to demonstrate what happens when we do have it lowercase, but make sure you capitalize all your components, and then you won't have any issues. Back in here. See how it changed color there? Back in here. Why is that index.js coming on the end there? I don't know what I keep touching there to make it do that. /alto, thank you. Yeah. Okay, right, good. We're back to normal. Right, so yeah, what I want to do is to take our row here that I've defined and put that in a separate component, so we're not cluttering up our main app.js file, because you can imagine over time as you build your project, if we kept it all in this one file, it would get huge and totally unmanageable. Already there's quite a lot there going on my screen, I think. So any ideas how I do that? So we can literally, yeah, anything that we want to move. So in this case, I just want to remove all the presentational stuff for the row. So we'll do it on multiple lines. So again, I need the brackets because I'm going on multiple lines. Okay, so now look what we're getting. React must be in scope when using JSX, blah, 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 blah. Yeah? So it's recognized that it's JSX, which is really clever, but we haven't got anything to deal with JSX at the moment. So Davide said something really interesting earlier. He said, yeah. He said, do we need the import React from, what is it, guys? React, yeah. Okay, now that's fixed all of those warnings or errors, whatever they were now. The only other thing we've got is Carlito image is not defined. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. What do we have in the main app.js? We had Yeah, import it, blah, blah, blah. So make sure we do the same, because we're using it now within this file, and we're not exporting it from app.js or anything like that. Okay, that seems to have fixed all of those, so that's compiled successfully again. So now, I've deleted it. Let's delete this for now as well. Alright, I'm going to comment it out actually. Let's just comment that out. How many rows will now be displayed? Or will a row be displayed? And what will it have in it? How many rows will be displayed of my images? One row? Yeah. Because I've taken out the first row here and put it into its own component. And I've said render this row, and I've commented out the rest. So let's have a look. Let's fix this one as well. Is defined but never used. Oh, I can't fix that for now actually, because it's the only way I could fix it would just be to comment that out as well. Okay. All right. So we got one row, just one row. Yeah. Okay. So writing that logic in a different file, and then in our main app.js, literally just importing it and putting it in a tag like that is doing exactly the same as that. Yeah, because if I uncomment that, we should now have, and uncomment the other one, then we should have 2 rows of exactly the same things. One row. Ooh. Okay, I didn't, so is that, let's have a look. What have we done wrong there? Did a class name equals row? Is that a CSS thing?
It's on Apple JavaScript.
Yeah,
It's where, sorry, Ricardo?
So the issue, everyone see what the issue is. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Mistake Ray renamed the class name, but right now the UI is broken.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone see which class name has been renamed?
Class name row.
Correct.
So if we look in my CSS file, it's row with a lowercase, and when we were messing around with our components, somehow maybe I hit Control D or something, I don't know, I changed that as well. So in app.js I need to make sure that my class name is a lowercase one, and that hopefully should have fixed our issue. First row, second row, are they exactly the same? Should be, right? Okay. So, if I wanted to add one more row, what's the easiest way to do it now that we've created a separate component? Yeah. So, if I want another row of exactly the same things, obviously, but we can amend these things easily now, later. So I wanted 3 rows. Oh, no, I thought it would autocomplete. So I wanted 3 rows. I can literally now just reuse that component as many times as I want. And now I should have how many rows? 1, 2, 3. Yeah? So in the later tasks you will be doing these kind of things in React. You'll be creating components, creating reusable components. I'm not necessarily saying it's the best way to do it, the way I've done with a row component. In the end you're going to have a whole gallery component. But that's just to give you an idea of how we can create, sorry I keep clicking the wrong place, one component with a bit of reusable code, and then in our main file or a different one we can reuse that as many times as we want, and it's a lot more readable now. My app.js file, I know I've got a header with 3 rows in it. Yeah, fairly self-explanatory. Sorry, just to get rid of that warning now. Oh, I don't need it anymore, right? Okay, so
There's a warning, compiled warning.
I've just got rid of that compiled warning. Yeah, should have disappeared now. Yeah.
Just like 4 seconds behind.
Yeah, YouTube lags very, very slightly if you're watching it over YouTube. Alright. So how long have we got left? We have... Oh, I've pretty much gone over already. I'll just say one other thing then. So I mentioned there were 2 types of components. There were functional-based components, and what was the other one? Class-based components. Yeah, we can see it there, right? And you'll notice the syntax of that is slightly different. I won't go into that too much now. I'll only say that we used to use class components when we wanted to use state in our app, so representing a change of data or a change of values in our app. Obviously, when we go a bit deeper into React, we'll talk about these things a lot more. We'll talk about the differences between functional components and class components. When do we use each one? And we'll touch on things now that we can use lifecycle methods in functional components as well by using React hooks and these sorts of new additions to React as well. But I think that's probably a good place to leave it there, if you agree, Ricardo. Yeah. And any questions that you have about what we've covered there?
This is a quick question. It's not
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the comments, you commented it out. I've been trying to figure out how to do it.
Oh, yeah.
A block of code.
So the little shortcut to comment. I'm on a Windows-based keyboard, so I use Control and /, and that's what that does. And on Mac, you would use Command and /, I think. If people could try that now and just see whether that works for them if they've got a bit of code open. Does that work? Either Command / or Control /? Yeah?
Sometimes inside the comment some inside the function of React, it doesn't show like double backspace, curly brace.
So if I commented this, is it? Hold on. If I commented, no, that was. Hold on. I'm trying to work out.
Yeah, so the first single line loads of it. How do I undo it?
What's that? Sorry, say again.
How do I undo it?
How do you undo it? The same. Yeah, it just toggles the comments on and off.
I have a question.
Yeah. So do you mean like that, Davide? Like a different comment
Yes.
like that? Yeah. So that therefore is a JavaScript-based comment. Yeah, using the a multi-line JavaScript comment is the / with the star, and then the other end is the star and the /. Doesn't put the double backslash. No, so that's a multi-line comment in JavaScript, and the other one's a single-line comment.
The multi-line, what's the shortcut for the multi-line?
Same shortcut. It's clever enough to interpret it based on where you're using it in your code. Yeah. Any other React-based questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In JS file, we have a row component.
Yep.
This component should space between / and row. Yeah, I'm confused, but which one is?
Yeah, I think technically that's the correct way to do it. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. But I think technically that's the best practice way to do it. Yeah. It works either way, as you can see. So open and closing your tag or your element, yeah, or your component in this case. It's still an element, yeah.
One last question.
One last question, yeah, we
You
can.
know how you have row, let's say you got row twice there, yeah, and you want to change them both to another component name. How do you change them both together? Because I think people doing it, but I don't know how. Like,
You want to change this?
let's say I want to change them, I want to change them, but I want to change them at the same time. So let's say
Yeah,
it's
so-
a gallery or something.
So that was the Control D, you mean, to highlight every single instance of row? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then change them at the same time.
And let's say once you've used Control D, when you type, it will change all of them. So let's say we had column instead.
Alright, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, Control D or Command D for the Mac users. Good to leave it there? Yeah? Alright guys, thanks for your attention. Hope it was useful. Awesome.